And welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. I am Pat Sheehan here with my co-host. He is not a robot, Dave Martinson. Dave, what's going on, dude?
Yo, dog, what's good?
Not much, man. I mean, pretty low key weekend over here. I pretty much saw Blade Runner, and that was it.
Yeah, I hear you.
But how about our man Hoodie Allen shouting us out on YouTube?
That's right. Leaving us a comment with his, official YouTube account, the channel itself. I thought it was pretty cool. Shout out, Hoodie.
Yeah, and if you want to see that, go to our YouTube account, subscribe somewhere down here, and you can also comment along with the likes of Hoodie Allen and our other loyal fans.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's nice that he's willing to engage. It's interesting he listens to all the reviews of his album.
For sure. He's definitely checking the feedback. I mean, he's always interactive with his fans. I didn't know he would literally search for what everyone said, but, more power to him. We certainly appreciate the look. So subscribe, help us out. But yeah, man, Blade Runner happened. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, why don't we start off? You went to New York City Comic Con this weekend. This was your 10th in a row, I think I saw on Twitter at Martin Swagger.
Hell yeah, dog. Been going every year since 2008.
All right, well, fill me in. Like, what were you going to see? What were you most surprised by? Just give me the whole rundown of the weekend for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, so I only go one day. I've gone Friday the past few years. I've gone multiple days. So I usually only go one day. It's a 4-day event at the Javits Center down in lower Midtown, East Manhattan. And I mean, I've always gone because I was a huge Star Wars fan forever, right? But it's really just a huge culture thing. Like, you got everything there: movies, games. It's just a smaller version of San Diego Comic-Con in July. The Walking Dead does their big panel every year there on Saturday. There's always big stuff, but I wasn't really going for anything specific. I just kind of like going to see everything that's there. You can play stuff, you can see stuff. There's always cool stuff to find on the floor. So yeah, it's a fun time. I met Pablo Hidalgo, who is really famous to Star Wars fans. His Twitter account's really popular because he tweets about Star Wars canon. He's kind of the guy who oversees all of the Star Wars canon, the Lucasfilm story group. So that was really cool. I've read a bunch of his books, so that was kind of cool to actually meet the guy in person and talk to him a little bit. But yeah, just they've all blended together at this point, having it been my 10th in a row.
They all blend together. That's pretty funny. It's cool that you saw that guy from Star Wars. What's his name? Richard Hidalgo?
Pablo Hidalgo.
Hidalgo. Cool. One of the cool things I read, and this is kind of a plug for our next week's show, which we'll be talking about Mr. Robot, which premieres on Wednesday, was I guess the Mr. Robot event for this actually gave people a showing of the first episode that went to this. And they put them through like a escape room type situation where you had to like pull off things for F Society. They had Michael Christopher there, who plays Richard Price, on the show, and he was treating everything like he's actually the character on the show for Evil Corp. Nice. So cool. It sounds like it was a pretty awesome event, and probably the only part of the weekend I felt really jealous of. I'm not a big Comic-Con type person, but it seems like there's a lot of really cool things. That seems like one event I would have really like lost my mind at.
Yeah, honestly, just to cap it off, Comic-Con is the event it's like an event for everyone. There's so much broad appeal. Like PAX is strictly video games, right?
Right.
But Comic-Con is, there's everything there, and you see it. You see it in the cosplay. There's just fans of. It's much more than just nerd shit. It's not just a bunch of fat dudes like stereotypical nerds. It's anything. But I will say it is funny that Con and PAX are the only places where the
only place where what? Sorry, I lost you there.
Saying it's the only place where there's a line for the men's room, but not the women's room.
That actually is really funny. By the way, for anyone that's watching us on YouTube, our live stream or the after video, I apologize. I'm strobe light Pat today for some reason. Not really sure what's going on this end and haven't been able to figure it out. So just enjoy. This will be a special nostalgia episode.
Absolutely.
Speaking of special things, Movie Pass. Let's start there. So we've been talking a lot about the future of movies. We talked about how it was a lackluster box office for movies this summer, kind of revived with it, and we'll be talking about Blade Runner, which had a disappointing box office. But this Movie Pass, so this was an app I think people have been aware of. It originally started off as a $15 membership where you could go and see as many movies as you want a month in theaters, and then it rose all the way up to $50 a month for unlimited movies a month, unlimited movies in theaters. Recently, I think as recent as August, it chopped down to $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a pretty sweet deal. You could literally see a new movie every day that's in theaters if you want to. I'm wondering, is this a sustainable business model?
Yeah, that's what everyone's been talking about when they slashed it to $9.95 in August, like you said. And yeah, I mean, it's accepted at all the major chains, Regal, AMC, and Cinemark. So that's 91% of the theaters in the country. Only like the ArcLight, like some of the smaller chains, like designer ones, they don't take it, but you can basically use it everywhere, especially the big ones. So legit in that regard. And we have one film a day, only 2D, but for $9.95, you use it once, you've already got a deal because most big city tickets cost more than that. But yeah, you're asking the right question. Is it a sustainable business model? And I think this is very much a Amazon type play where you just try and tons of money on the margins for a while and hope it catches on, because the play here is not just to get all these subs. The subs are important, but it's about the data that you get from everyone who's buying all these tickets using MoviePass. And and MoviePass has already sold a 51% stake to a analytics firm, so they know the long game here. But the studies that they did in Boston and Denver when they first unveiled MoviePass a few years ago, it did increase ticket purchases, which wouldn't make sense, but it also drove concessions, so that makes sense. And if you're wondering, oh well, is it good for me to get MoviePass? MoviePass is still paying full price to the theater, so you're not hurting the movie industry at all.
Right.
The only thing you're potentially hurting is MoviePass if they go bankrupt. But I think it's an Amazon type play. They're going to lose money for a while and hope they can increase subscribers, get younger people to go back to the movie theaters, and get that subscription, and then use their data and go from there. So I think it's very interesting, and it's honestly a really good deal. I'm actually really considering getting it. What do you think?
Well, I'm definitely considering getting it. I mean, there are those months when the cycle of movies is a little bit unpredictable in terms of like there's going to be the major ones that come out throughout the year that you plan on going to see, but like those ones that are on the fringe, like I can't even think this year of one that
like Logan Lucky.
Yeah, Logan Lucky, perfect example. Like, I'm kind of on the fringe. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go see it. If I had this, I would just be like, well, I mean, it's going to pay for itself after one anyway.
Exactly.
So, like, why wouldn't you if you enjoy movies at all? I mean, this weekend I went to go see Blade Runner. I took my girlfriend Julianne. Tickets plus snacks when we got there cost me around $50. So the fact that you could. I mean, the ticket alone was $12.50, so you're saving already on one movie. So, my concern with this is that AMC already has threatened to pull out because they're afraid that they're not going to be able to pay them back because they don't understand how they're going to have the money to kind of stay afloat. So if the major movie theaters start to pull out and it becomes like only small movie theaters, it's something that I think would die off pretty quickly. So they're going to have to work something out there.
It's funny because AMC is the chain that they partnered with in Denver and Boston when MoviePass was rolling out. Right. When it cost they had a bunch of different packages around like $30 to $50. So it's kind of funny how the tables have turned. But the younger people that go to the theater less often, I think, are just really conscious of their time. And I think the impact of Rotten Tomatoes affecting tickets selling is a little overblown. But still, I mean, like you said, I mean, if you're on the fence about a movie, the reviews are good, not great. Maybe you're a little disappointed by that. You have less riding in it if you can make the time to go when it's already paid for. And also, like the Oscar movies, the non-theater movies where the experience isn't really boosted by being in a big theater. Again, you can go because you're not spending any money on doing it. So, I think there's a lot to like about this. And it's funny. They went from 20,000 subscriptions to 300,000 after the August price drop, and they're actually having trouble getting the cards to people. It's a bit of a delay, so they've been kind of backed up logistically, but it seems to be working out. And of those new subscriptions, it's 75% millennial, so it seems to all be working out the way you would predict.
You would expect someone like Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino or James Cameron to come out in support of this, especially as we've been talking about all the new platforms that are trying to take new movies into your home.
Yeah.
This is a exact way to combat it, if they can find a way to really keep this model afloat.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big key, because again, the theater tickets are being paid full price, so the movie industry isn't losing business. It's just whether MoviePass through advertisements and analytics can afford to eat this on the people like me and you. If we had this, we would definitely take advantage of it a lot, and they would make their money off them. But so definitely interesting to keep about. If you're interested in MoviePass, check it out, because it's not a scam. It's very legit.
Absolutely. So moving on to something that not as lighthearted as an app for movies. Harvey Weinstein, an article came out in the New York Times about him this past weekend, basically chronicling an investigation that they have done that uncovered that there's been numerous sexual harassment cases. There's 8 lawsuits that have been resolved between Weinstein and victims, but it seems like there's a pattern here of a pretty serial sexual harasser, something along those lines, just inappropriate.
Over 3 decades too.
I mean, obviously Harvey Weinstein, I think he's very well known as like a major name in showbiz just in general, but I mean, it's a pretty heartbreaking thing to hear, just that he's victimized so many people and that this has gone on for so long. I mean, what are your initial thoughts around this, or where do you want to start this conversation?
Yeah, no, and piggybacking on what you just said, I mean, the worst part is, you hear, oh, it's unspoken secret, or not, no, what do you call it? Everyone knew about it, right? Especially people at the Weinstein Company, and before even Miramax, his old company.
Worst kept secret in Hollywood was, I think, the way I heard it described.
Right, and and his initial comments, I mean, he first take a leave of absence. He's since been fired. So, but his initial comments, he basically was making an excuse that isn't an excuse. John Oliver went off about this, about how, oh, this is how it happened in the 60s. That's your excuse, that women used to be demeaned and it was okay, so that's why you did it? Right. That's really what you just said right now? But on the opposite, he's also going to sue the New York Times because he says a lot of it is unfounded. So, I mean, there's no good look for this. And I know the cynics will say that, Mel Gibson is going to be in a comedy, Will Ferrell, this weekend, Daddy's Home 2. He was nominated for Best Director last year for Hacksaw Ridge. He's really come back in the good graces after all the stuff he said about 10 years, about 10 years ago. And Woody Allen's got a movie coming out this year with Justin Timberlake, doing stuff. So the thought that Weinstein would totally go away, it's probably a little naive until we actually see it happen. Right. But, and I honestly, like, the fact that he's such a piece of shit. I mean, he was such a piece of shit as a movie executive, because he would hold artists hostage and like not release their movies and change he would always have final cut. Like Tulip Fever, that movie that just came out with Alicia Vikander, the Queen, and Dane DeHaan, like that got like 4 different release dates, and they just kept messing with it. And that's something he's always been known to do. And now the fact that he also is just a terrible person, like, it's just like of course he is. Like, I'm not even surprised. It's kind of pull back to what you were saying about like normalizing it almost, in a sense, and like how like Mel Gibson and people who Woody Allen, people who have done these horrible things in the past seem to still be benefiting from their star and have not really felt any effects. It needs to change somewhere. And like, just because Mel Gibson and Woody Allen had these things that were pretty horrible, and I think they were called out at the time it happened, or at least in some part of history had been called out. Something really needs to change with this, because while like Mel Gibson was literally like just spouting racist and sexist slurs, this is someone who is actually using his position of power to take advantage of people and
to a point.
Systemically.
Yeah, systemically, exactly. And I had this conversation with one of my coworkers the other day about how, like Joe Mixon, for example, this NFL star, everybody saw the video of him doing, Tyreek Hill doing something horrible, and he still gets drafted, and he still gets this contract, and
scored a touchdown this week.
But the piece about it that I think is really positive is if that happened 10 years ago, I don't think there would have been any owner that would come out and said, I don't want him on my team.
Yeah.
Now there's at least I think there's 10 owners who were like, I will not be drafting him this weekend when
he's not on our board.
Right. Which, I mean, it's not where it should be, but it's progress. And we need to keep pushing these things and holding the people who can make these decisions to their feet to the fire. Because if we don't, if the public doesn't, then these things aren't going to change.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, you've seen a lot of women in Hollywood who have chimed in about having similar experience happen to them, and and hopefully the systemic need to just kind of keep quiet about it and just put up with it, not necessarily comply with what you're being asked to do, but just shove it under the rug for the sake of your own career. Yeah, hopefully, that's starting to go away and more people start speaking out. The New Yorker supposedly has stuff coming out too. Maybe there's more cases, maybe there's other individuals, who knows, but hopefully it's a sign of the start of something good.
Absolutely. Well, to kind of move off a difficult subject onto something that I think we both really enjoyed this weekend, Blade Runner 2049. Oh, yeah. The Ryan Gosling starring, Harrison Ford supporting role / still being a fucking G. Denis Villeneuve just fucking killing it. I mean, this movie though only grossed $81 million worldwide after a budget of $150 to $180. It has an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, I should say. I mean,
A- cinema score. People liked it when they saw it.
Where did this movie go wrong? Why did people not want to come see a movie that critics are saying is one of the best movies of the year?
So I think I got a lot of answers. So Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford aren't really draws on their own anymore. They really haven't been. Ryan Gosling really hasn't been a draw. His best movies financially are when he's with a big co-star, which, like Harrison Ford, you think this would work out. But if we look at the audience statistics for this opening weekend, 71% male. That's bad. 63% over the age of 35. So I think this movie had a major marketing problem. Part of that is that it was 2 hours and 43 minutes long, so you can't make showings a day per theater, but also that turns some people off regardless. But the marketing itself was almost trying to sell it as an action movie, which clearly isn't. For everyone who watched it, itself, the original came out in 1982, and that got demolished at the box office by E.T. in its third week. So the first one wasn't a huge hit, and this is hard sci-fi. And if we look at the box office, Valerian this year, which was just crazy out there sci-fi, did nothing. And especially over here, and even movies like Star Trek Beyond last year underperformed. And if there's any negative press about a sci-fi movie, it'll bomb, like John Carter, Jupiter Ascending. So I think sci-fi, it's tough to sell it to people, and especially something like this, which is a much more thoughtful movie, and the marketing doesn't tell you what it's about. You're supposed to just want to see it already, and they're trying to sell you on people that already saw Blade Runner. So I just think ultimately that this movie was budgeted as a blockbuster, which I'm great because I love the movie, but I don't think you ever could sell it as one. The box office really shows that. And 31, they were thinking it was going to make 45 to 55. They thought this would make Martian money, and it didn't. So that's disappointing, but I'm hoping it has decent legs like Arrival did for Villeneuve last year.
I think the marketing thing is it's a really interesting piece of this, because I don't, when you're talking, I was trying to think what would be a better way to market it, and I don't really know if there was a good way to draw a large audience. It almost seems like basically they were like, all right, the first Blade Runner basically became a cult classic through the years. People recognized it was a really excellent sci-fi movie, but they're giving it the budget that was going to be enough just to pull in a huge audience. And Blade Runner really isn't that. I mean, it's a great Harrison Ford movie. It's a great performance from him. It's a awesome,
great Ridley Scott movie.
Yeah, awesome concept, but overall, it's just the kind of thing where if you didn't have interest in it, you probably weren't going to go see it unless there was something like you said, like Ryan Gosling with Emma Stone or stuff like that, where there's like something else to pull, especially female viewers. And I mean, not to sound sexist with this, I know women enjoy Blade Runner and sci-fi as well, but it's a lot harder of a niche to pull women in than guys to, I think, a different sort of movie. So
true. And also, it was majority over age 35. So young people, this was just not attractive to.
Right.
So I think ultimately it was just a tough marketing sell, and that's where we're at. And Kingsman 2 came out 2 weeks ago. There's nothing coming out for a few weeks. The window is perfect.
Right.
But if people aren't interested, they're not interested. And I think that's ultimately what happened.
It's also funny because one of the things I noticed myself thinking near like the last third of the movie was it's a really quiet movie. Like, I mean, there's a lot of noise. Well, yeah, the score is like almost like unsettling, but like in terms of dialogue, in terms of like things you could put in a trailer to talk about, like even the scene to kind of move into spoilers a bit when Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling talk, which you do see in the trailer, so it's not that much of a spoiler. Ryan Gosling barely says anything. Yeah, he asks a couple questions. Harrison Ford speaks pretty cryptically, but for the most part, there's not much there that you could put in a trailer that someone would be like, wow, like I really need to go see that now.
So what did your girlfriend think? Was she familiar with the first one?
So a funny story. I've never been to one of those theaters where you reserve your seat and they have like the big comfy chairs, and that was the kind we had to go to. That's closest to us.
Good for a long movie.
Yeah, Julianne took a nice 30-minute snooze in the middle, woke up, didn't feel like she missed anything, and she pretty much was like, that was really good. I just feel confused, and it was long. That was, I was like, you know what? That's fair.
You get in what you take out, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't feel confused leaving the movie, but I felt really intrigued, especially where they left it off. And I think we'll get to that. So what stood out to you most about this movie? I mean, the score, I think you said, was something that stood out to you, but what else?
Oh, yeah. I think Roger Deakins' cinematography is perhaps the star of the film.
Yep.
This movie is beautiful to look at. The framing is amazing. The cuts are awesome. And just the juxtaposition of colors, like Ryan Gosling when you're in LA, 2049 LA, it's all like blue and there's the gray haze. And then when you go to Vegas where Ford is, it's all like bright orange, and like just the juxtaposition of the colors, and it's so awesome. And I think Deakins will finally get that Oscar that's eluding him. He's had 13 nominations and no wins, and he's done a lot of great films. So I think he might finally get on there. But yeah, if nothing else, the movie is enjoyable to look at.
Yeah, you know what, the scene that I think stands out most in my mind in terms of like the colors of all the places different. Like when he goes to Las Vegas and it's just like that bright yellow everywhere is also pretty striking. But the final like fight scene between Ryan Gosling's character and Love or Louvre or however you say your name, where it's like from a distance, all you see is that light coming from the car, and then it zooms back in. It's so bright in there, and then it zooms back out, and all you see is like darkness, and it's like wow, just like striking the back and forth of it. Also, any scene that we're in Jared Leto's like lair is the lighting is amazing in that. It's interesting. I thought Denny would have used Bradford Young from Arrival, because the shots in that they look a little bit similar to this, but
they do. Yeah, I had to double check to make sure it wasn't Deakins. I was wondering.
Yeah, but still, he that seems to be his hallmark. Is he likes these wide shots that are just kind of like breathtaking and like blow you away.
Right. And I think we can get into the plot a little bit here. I think the first Blade Runner is really memorable for establishing that, you know, cyberpunk world. The world of Blade Runner is so memorable, and the plot of the first Blade Runner is pretty simple. You know, it's they hire Harrison Ford to kill 4 replicants, so it's pretty straightforward, right? That's not why it's so great. That's not the point. But Blade Runner 2049, while the world is still awesome and especially beautiful to look at here, this movie's about character dynamics, and that's why I love it so much, because I think Ryan Gosling's Kay is fucking fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, Ryan Gosling nails Kay, and I found myself thinking, why do I care about Kay, but I don't care about the characters on Westworld? Because it's pretty much the
Yes.
same sort of thing.
Fuck
And
yes, dude.
pretty much where I found myself going was they they made Kay's existence and everything he's moving towards about connection. Whereas like it's about, oh, is he human, is he not? And that scene where, spoiler, where they find out where Ryan Gosling is not like the chosen one. He's not the replicant that was given birth to. Yeah, the son of Harrison Ford. It's so heartbreaking, just in like terms of how he, like, you see his face basically just like fall, and that woman's like, oh, honey, you thought you were, well, we all did. Like, that's what we're all going through, but we're fighting towards something bigger. Like, we have something bigger to move towards. That's what I think makes it so much more meaningful than Westworld, which is just basically like, this is fun, and I guess robots could have souls, maybe.
Dude, exactly. When I was making my notes today, I started thinking about Westworld, and I was like, first of all, fuck all you Westworld fans that didn't go see this movie. Watch something smart.
Right.
Second, if this movie was like Westworld, Gosling would have been the son.
Mm-hmm.
That army of replicants would have actually had the war happen. And Gosling would have went and killed Jared Leto at the end. All those predictable things would have happened, but they fucking didn't. And that's why this movie's so awesome, because it takes the easy expectations and flips them around. And this movie's such a marvel because it's a sequel to a 1982 cult classic, and it fucking worked. Only a few years ago, Prometheus came out, and that didn't totally work. I still like Prometheus, but it's not a gem like this movie is, So, I mean, kudos to Denis Villeneuve. But yeah, so how did you... Some people say that the movie tails off a little bit once Harrison Ford shows up. Because, again, he's really only in the last, third of the movie?
Right. Yeah, definitely the last third, I think. I thought that was one of the things, was I thought the pacing at times slowed down. I don't think that this was a movie, though, that was concerned about that. This was more about putting you in a world, and it wasn't about like driving the plot. It wasn't like Baby Driver, where you're trying to just do like boom, 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 let's go. It was more like, we're gonna immerse you in this. You're gonna sit with this character. You're gonna watch his journey from being a robot to maybe not being a robot to finding out he's not, but still like making sense of what it means for him to be alive. Like, there's a lot in this to sit with.
Yeah, I mean, the arc, he knows he's a replicant, obviously. And I think the movie is smart for telling you right away that Gosling is a replicant. I thought that was really well done. There's no secret there. But he knows his memories are fake. And then he gets led on to think, oh, maybe they aren't actually fake. And then when he actually finds out that they are, and indeed as fake as he thought they were originally, heartbreaking to watch. But, and yeah, exactly. It's devastating. And the supporting cast of this movie too is really strong. Like, Robin Wright as his like cop boss was great. They had great chemistry. Dave Bautista has that one scene in the beginning as the replicant that he goes to kill. And I mean, the way he's like, you kill your own kind. Like, and Gosling never has really any emote, and he doesn't even smile to the very end. Like, he was great. And Barkhad Abdi from Captain Phillips was there briefly as trying to help him evade the cops. Like, and then Mackenzie Davis is the prostitute, where they had that awesome sex scene, right?
Yep.
But I think
did you think that was awesome? I thought that was a weird ass scene, dude.
It is jarring, but the reason I liked it is I think Ana de Armas, she plays Joy. She plays his AI girlfriend.
She's from War Dogs, dude.
She's that's like, she's a Cuban actress. That's like her first movie that any of us would know about, and I think she's the breakout, because that role didn't have to be that lively.
No, she brought the humanity to the whole movie. Because if her and Gosling didn't have like a good connection, and she wasn't as charming and as like moving as she was as his like wife or partner, whatever that robot would be, you don't care about Gosling being a robot. You basically say, well, this is like another like mystery that he's just trying to figure out. The movie becomes about his humanity when you see how much he actually connects with this I don't know, AI.
Right. And then right before she dies, she says, I love you. And that's cliche, but it's supposed to be cliche because that's what she's supposed to say because she's an AI and she's supposed to tell him what he wants to hear.
Right.
I thought it was handled really well, and so she's the breakout character for me. But yeah, I think Gosling did a lot because, again, he's not emotional in most of this movie, but he really carries it.
Yeah, in the times he does show emotion, it's like you really are, you really feel it. Like when he meets up with what's her name, the girl who actually is the daughter of Harrison Ford.
Yeah, the girl making the memories. I forgot her name.
Yeah, when you go to meet with her. And she's like, this memory is real, and she recognizes it's hers, but he thinks he's talking about it being his, and he just like gets up and like hits everything, and it's just like so like visceral. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
there were so many little moments like that I thought were so good. Even the standoff between Ford and Gosling, I thought it was very Harrison Ford, like just beating the shit out of people, and then we can either keep doing this or we can have a drink. Like.
Yeah, but I was happy that Harrison Ford didn't phone it in. We know what a phoned in Ford looks like and sounds like at this point. This wasn't that. And even though he wasn't in the movie a ton, I still think he really, he brought it. And there's so many like little moments. One of it is when he pours the whiskey on the ground for his dog. And then Gosling asks if the dog is real. And he's like, ask him.
Yeah.
That.
Also, when him and Leto have the standoff. And he makes a replicant of Rachel, and she walks up to him, and he goes, "Yep. Her eyes are green," and just like walks away. It's such like a perfectly delivered like Ford line, but the way he like acts like he's like so moved by it, but then he like flips there, and he's like, "Nope, you almost had me, but I know what's real. Like you can't replicate that feeling."
And I will say that did not even cross my mind when I was watching it, but I saw some comments about it. So bringing back Rachel from the original, obviously they did some CGI to make her look young, like from the 80s. And I think maybe it's because she's playing a replicant, but there was no uncanny valley for me. I didn't think it looked weird at all.
It was way better than how they did Carrie Fisher in Rogue One. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there was one moment when Gosling's getting to Vegas, the irradiated desert, abandoned Las Vegas, and he just had like he's been thinking about his humanity this whole time, and then he puts his hand in that thing of honeybees.
Yeah, and
then he pulls it back out. His hand's covered in bees, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's a replicant. Like, don't forget. Right. Man, I love so much about this movie, and even the callback to Gaff, his Deckard's partner from the original. That Gosling goes sees him in the old folks' home, and what's he do when he's telling him some information? He makes a fucking origami unicorn, which is just a shout out to the original movie.
Yep.
Is Deckard a replicant? Is he not? Leto at the end when he's talking to Ford, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's how you were designed," or was it love? Like again, he flips it both. So they don't answer the replicant question, yay or nay. I think that they just kind of play at it some more, and I think that's great because that's not really the point.
No, I do think it's cool that they set it up for a female to be leading it moving forward. Because obviously it's going to become about this revolution led by or using his daughter as like the spark or the guiding light in a way.
Do you think they make a sequel? I do not.
They could. I mean, when I was leaving...
They could, yeah, they could. But
when I was leaving, I was thinking like... it's the kind of thing where it could almost be like Planet of the Apes. I know that they had like certain characters as like through lines through that, but you could follow around like a couple of different people and make like even smaller little movies about different pieces of this world.
Sure.
You can make a movie about the daughter. You can make a movie about like the people of the revolution, like the leader there, the female leader. There's a lot of different through lines. I don't know if they will though, but I think if they had a better response, they would have felt more compelled to do something. But I think with the lackluster box office, it almost like solidifies that they're just going to let it be.
Yeah. I don't know. I never thought they were trying to make it a franchise. This wasn't like Alien, in my opinion. But shout out Philip K. Dick. He's the author. He passed away before Blade Runner came out, but his work's everywhere now. Total Recall, Minority Report, Man in the High Castle. Blade Runner is based off of his book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sleep?
Creative ass dude.
His IP is cooking right now.
Yeah. what about our boy Dilly though? Denny.
Yeah. So funny you asked that. This was in my notes to bring up on the pod at some point, but then this movie came out, perfect timing. So Denny from the end of September, Deadline dropped a report that he's in talks with Sony to direct a Cleopatra film selling Stacy Schiff biography, and they already have a script, so that seems like that's gonna. And he would work on Cleopatra while he's directing Dune for Legendary.
I didn't know he was doing
and Cleopatra are his next two movies. Yeah, so the information, but the Cleopatra report makes it seem like Dune's still happening.
Yeah.
If anyone knows anything about Dune, it's this legendary sci-fi novel, but it's been impossible to adapt. It's almost like a Watchmen if Watchmen never had a movie. So throwing his name out for a Bond movie, a 007 film, but it sounds like his next 6 years are already taken.
If there's anybody that I think could do Dune justice, it would probably be him. I mean, after seeing how beautiful Arrival was, and then this movie, which was, more dystopian than obviously Arrival, and even I think more dystopian than Dune would be, because it's a much brighter movie, like just in terms of like the setting. I think he could really make a beautiful film. Dune's just a hard IP to really do well because it's pretty vast, right? If I remember correctly, the world is pretty huge.
Seems like it's a hard thing visually, even like conceptualize onto the page, like making a script. So it sounds like it's gonna be really tough at all turns, but we'll see. I'm just happy that a sequel to a successful movie that it was so influential across all film and anime and video games everywhere.
Cleopatra makes me nervous though.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like when people move towards like Egypt and like that time period, that's like either boom or bust.
Well, I mean, they got a script already, so it sounds like they've been working on it, trying to make it work. Angelina Jolie's name was thrown around for a while, so I could definitely see it, even though she's not Egyptian. So we'll see how that goes. So do you have an opinion on which Blade Runner, the original film, which cut you like? There's 8 different cuts technically, but everyone usually sides in the original theatrical cut from '82 or the 2007 final cut that Ridley Scott made as his definitive version.
I think I've only seen the original, but I don't have an opinion on this. What about yourself?
Yeah, so I think the final cut's only like a minute longer, so it's not about just adding deleted scenes. So what the main difference is that if you watch the original, in between scenes and during like scene transitions, Harrison Ford, there's a voiceover that was added, and he's basically explaining what has been happening on the movie. The final cut eliminates all of that, so it's much more atmospheric, and it kind of treats the viewer, I think, a smarter way. So final cut, but you got to credit the theatrical cut for being which was so popular for so long. But I actually do think if you take the voiceover away, it's kind of a more atmospheric film. But I can see either side.
Before we close down our discussion on this, we didn't really talk about Leto very much. What were your thoughts around him?
Well, he's only in like 2 scenes, so he doesn't make that big of an impact. I mean, it seems like people have kind of been, blah on him, but I thought for what his character was supposed to do, it was fine. He was a little nebulous. He was kind of villain 101. I got grand plans, blah, blah, blah. And I thought when he told Ford, I have everything I need to get what I need from you off world, I was like, you got this huge ass pyramid, and you have shit off world you need? Come on, dog. But I thought it was fine. Jared Leto, like some people do. Again, he's a Academy Award winner, and he might be playing Hugh Hefner in a movie. So,
oh my god, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's in 2 scenes. He's really not even worth critiquing if you have quips,
I thought he was actually really good in the scenes he was in.
Yeah.
And especially because the last movie I saw him in, I think most people saw him in, was Suicide Squad. Just seeing him get back to just being his like normal weird Jared Leto instead of just like totally lost it Jared Leto.
Yeah. He's
nice.
Yeah, agreed. So in review, if you've sat through our spoiler discussion of Blade Runner 2049, but you haven't seen it, go see it. It's really great.
Yeah, definitely check it out. We're going to wrap up there, but like we talked about at the beginning of the show, Mr. Robot next week. Dave's going to listen to Pink. I'm going to listen to Wu-Tang Clan. What else have we got coming up? I think that's pretty much it.
St. Vincent, we've talked about her a little bit.
That's right.
I don't know.
And Beck will probably have his album coming out then too.
Yeah, I don't know if he has
we'll have some music to talk about. And a lot of TV to catch up on, which we're never going to.
Struggling. We don't have a movie that's like a definite discussion until the beginning of November when we get Thor and Murder on the Orient Express. So we got a little bit of time for some television.
All right. Well, we'll be talking about that all here. Find everything you need to support the pod at Nowstalgia Pod on Twitter, SoundCloud, SoundCloud.com/NowstalgiaPod. Almost told people to go to the World Wide Web. You don't need to type that in anymore. Let's see. Yeah, subscribe so you can hang out with Hoodie Allen. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Follow Dave at Martin Swagger, myself at Sheeny World Peace. Tell us what you think of the show. Help us make it better. We want to give the people what they want. I don't know. Anything else, Dave?
Yes, sir.
Last thoughts?
No, that's it. Just tweet us if you got anything coming up or something happens. We'll talk.
We will. Until next time, we love you. Peace out.